Well, my morning routine has started to be, let me see what the squirrels have done today. I come outside, I look around, I check everything, and then I find horror shows. I had about 13 cherry tomatoes and tomatillos planted along my house, and yesterday morning I walked out and they had been decimated. This particular bed was never bothered last year. My dogs didn't eat the cherry tomatoes. Nothing dug them up. I grew a prolific stand of cherry tomatoes along this little part of my house last year. This year, they don't stand a chance. And I think I'm just gonna bail on this area. I'll explain why in a minute. I would have showed you this yesterday. I wanted to, and I came out to do it, but we were having a wind event ahead of that long line of storms yesterday. We were having 40-mile-an-hour wind gusts here in South Louisiana, and it started yesterday morning and it did not stop until last night when the rains finally started coming through. It was bad. It almost felt to us living down here like there was a hurricane off the coast and that pretty soon it was going to be coming ashore. That's what it feels like before hurricanes, when we have these winds all day long and then eventually it deteriorates into a hurricane coming across shore. That wasn't the event. It was a storm line coming from the Oklahoma area through Texas and swooped down here through Louisiana and Mississippi last night. I haven't watched the news today. I hope there weren't deaths or injuries in Mississippi and Alabama. When we went to bed, we were realizing we were gonna catch the bottom part, and they backed off on our tornado warnings and stuff, tornado predictions. They backed off and canceled a lot of that right before I went to bed. And so we just got rain during the night last night. But I know middle of Mississippi, the Jackson area and all just got hit so hard with some high winds and with terrible rain. And I'm hoping that as I do pay attention to the news today, there weren't any deaths or anything. That's what I'm hoping. But that's what we were fighting here yesterday, so filming was just not an option. But let me show you what I woke up to yesterday morning. It just breaks my heart. Where there were mounds of tomatoes, there's now holes. That was a Matt's Wild Cherry there. That's just some clover. That was a Matt's Wild Cherry there. Nothing but holes. Another one gone. I have started some Sakura, S-A-K-U-R-A plants from Johnny Seeds, and 2 of them are hanging in there. This one's half dug up and wilted over. The branch is wilted over. See there? And this one looks okay, but that's because 2 days ago it got dug up and I just kind of set it back in here and covered it with dirt. Same with this one. So for some reason, when the squirrels came back the next day, they didn't touch this one and this one. They did kind of go after that one, and then they wiped out the rest of them. And then down here, they wiped out pretty much everything. Well, everything, I guess, from there to the end. I had some red pearl grape tomatoes. Gone. There's the little dug up dead one laying right there, just gone. And then down here I had 2 Tama Verde tomatillos, and they're decimated. This one is still sitting here, but it's cracked in 2. It's cracked in 2 and it's not going to make it. 3 of the varieties were from Johnny Seeds, and I had been wanting to try them for a while. The Sakura and the red pearl grape tomatoes. Actually, the Matt's Wild Cherry was from Johnny's too, but I had grown those last year. So they did so good though, I wanted to grow them again this year. I also had a couple of red currant tomatoes planted that were Fairy Moore seeds that I had gotten seedlings out of. And then the Tama Verde tomatillos that were wiped out were from Native Seed Search. So a lot of time wasted, just wasted, so that these squirrels could come decimate them to play with in one night. And so what I'm gonna do, I'm so mad, but what I'm gonna do, first of all, it's my fault, I guess, because I have been covering everything with chicken wire around here, and I didn't cover those. No, they didn't mess with them last year. No, my dogs didn't eat them last year or anything. So I let myself feel a little safe planting those right there. I was wrong. I guess because I've covered up everything else they could get to, they came to these. So they're gone now, probably because I didn't have them covered up. But what I'm gonna do is I'm just abandoning replanting any cherry tomatoes there. I'm gonna go to the Ace Hardware probably, and I'm gonna grab some seedlings of theirs, probably the Sweetie 100s or something like that. They're good cherry tomatoes. They're fine, they grow great, they do good. I just kind of like trying a lot of different varieties. But I'll grab whatever they have in stock at the Ace Hardware, and I'm gonna put in the ground somewhere else on my property that I do have protected. I'll tuck one here and one there. I'm just not gonna have this big, long, easy to harvest row like I had last year. My second thought is that I still have the cherry tomatoes, the Chiapas Wild cherry tomatoes that I planted and protected with chicken wire over here along the ramp. I have a lot of cilantro up in there still growing, and the cherry tomatoes are the darker green. And I've got one there. I'm still gonna have those if they do good. And I'm actually, because I'm having to do everything like a prison, I'm actually gonna have to come along the backside of this and put chicken wire, because a squirrel could easily get in here and do whatever they want to these plants from the backside. For some reason they didn't, and I appreciate it, but they could. So these aren't completely protected yet, and now I'm gonna have to do that. I was gonna do it anyway, because as you walk down, I'll have more things. I have one particular tomato plant, just one, that's all I started, called Council Bluffs, and the seeds were from Seed Savers. I'm gonna put it like right there. And then down here, I already planted some cucumber seeds. So I'm gonna have cucumbers growing there. And then down here in the very end, I planted some dill seeds. So I'm gonna have all kind of things growing that they would probably love to get into, the squirrels. And so I've gotta come along this way and put more chicken wire. Thank goodness I have it. I ordered a lot from Home Depot the other day. Thank goodness I have it. And I'm gonna have to do that here shortly. But back to this, back to this. I'm obviously just gonna leave the ones there that didn't get dug up, the 2.5 ones that didn't get dug up. I'm gonna leave them there. But what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna come in here when the dirt dries, and I'm just gonna kind of scatter it a little bit with a rake, and I'm gonna plant a whole bunch of sunflower seeds. I have a big gallon Ziploc full of the black oil sunflower seeds, and I'm just gonna plant those there and grow sunflowers along my house, kind of as a pollinator row and whatever, because I'm just not gonna come back here and try to plant the cherry tomatoes. Now you may wonder, why don't you just wrap them with chicken wire? Well, the problem, and I don't wanna get into any more situations with water lines and sewer lines. I've had a time lately that I haven't even mentioned to y'all, but I'll tell you in just a second. But I don't wanna risk puncturing my water lines. My water line, you can see I have a faucet there. Right about there is where it comes out of the house and angles out. We dug it up before we put the skirting on. Right about there, but down in the ground, is my water line. And it runs all the way along my house, away from the skirting though. It's out kind of under my tomato bed. It runs like along there and goes to the road. Now, I don't know how it's angled or anything. I have a hill in front of my house, so it may not, down here it's buried pretty deep. I don't know how deep it's buried at the other end. But I would have to put a T-post there, a T-post there, or somewhere out here. And then a couple more T-posts along here, and then a couple at the end, just to hold all the chicken wire and to be able to zip tie it to the chicken wire and everything. So I'm not gonna be driving T-posts down in here. I'm not, because I don't want to take a chance of hitting my water line. And let me tell you why. What's my old saying? Ain't nothing easy. And nothing's easy. When we were moving my limestone the other day, my sewer line accidentally got hit and crushed. So I luckily had a bunch of sewer pipe that matched it under my lean-to shed. So we were able to cut a section of pipe. I didn't have to buy that. I did have to go to the store and get some, I don't know what all the terminology is for all this stuff, but basically some connectors to connect one end to the other end. And so we were able to fix it and get it done. Of course, it delayed, you know, an hour or so just getting the rocks moved and everything, but we were able to get it fixed and done. So all that's working fine, all that's doing great. A couple of days later, my son was mowing for me, which I appreciated. But up in the front of our property, out near the highway, the previous owner had a faucet, I guess, and also he had a lot of things planted out there. So I guess he had put him a faucet nozzle out there connected to the water line so that he could water all the things he had planted out there. I don't really have anything I'm worried about out there anymore. Cut it down as far as I'm concerned. But he had a faucet. Well, my son ran over it with the lawnmower. So my son just keeps mowing because he doesn't even realize what he's hit. And all of a sudden the water goes off in the house. So I ran out there. I had a feeling what might have happened. And I went out there, and sure enough, I had a big puddle starting, a big pool of water in my front yard, and it was gushing. So we had to go to the main line, run back to the house, get a wrench, go to the main little faucet thing up there, the what do you call the little sewer thing, and cut off the main line from the highway to our house. Then trips to the hardware store, getting pipe, getting connectors. We just bypassed having a faucet there. I don't need it. So instead of reconnecting all of these faucet things and stuff, we just did a straight line in the water line and connected it. But we had to do that. Now, I don't begrudge any of this, because guess what? Now I know how to fix a sewer line for the most part, as long as it's nothing crazy. And I know now how to fix a water line. Should something like this happen again and I'm home by myself, I could do it. I know I could do it. I watched and I helped with both projects and I got it done. So I know I can do it. On the other hand, I don't want to go causing trouble. I don't want to go drilling T-posts down in the ground and popping water lines just to keep squirrels out of my little garden. So I'm going to put sunflower seeds in it. I'm skipping the cherry tomatoes along the side of my house. I'm not putting any chicken wire along the side of my house. If they want to come eat my sunflower seeds, they can knock themselves out. I don't know what else to do about these darn squirrels. I even tried this morning popping them with some BBs, and that didn't go too good. I'll tell you why about that. Before I tell you, let me just give you an idea of what I'm having to go through here. I had little wires around these beds along my carport last year just to keep my dogs out of the plants. But I planted some tomatoes right there, 3, 4 tomato plants. But I also got wire out and covered them. Because if I don't, they're not going to make it. They're going to be gone. But just having any type of barrier around them seems to protect them from the squirrels. I did the same thing on this bed by my carport, and I just walked over here and realized they got one. They got one. I had a plant there. I had a plant there. You can see the carnage. There's just a little bit of a gap right here. I thought that these little spiky things at the ends would keep them out of here. They didn't. They got down in there and got one of my plants. Dadgummit. Oh, there and there I have the other ones. They didn't seem to bother them. But anyway, I'm trying my best to cover things. Obviously, it's still not perfect. These were black Seaman tomatoes, and I got the seeds from Seed Savers, and the seedlings were the most strong and best seedlings I had. And now one of them's gone. I showed you where I did all the chicken wire around my ramp row here. I also did it on the long side of the ramp, and I planted tomatoes there. And so far, so good with these tomatoes. They've lasted about 3 or 4 days now with no squirrels eating them. I can tell that I have them all here. And they lasted through that wind and all that rain yesterday. So they're doing good. I look for these to kind of explode with growth soon because it's warming up. I finished the second half of my row here where I'm going to be planting cucumbers. I had showed you that I'd already had to wrap my potatoes in chicken wire. Then I had to do my cucumber row, but I got it done. I'm going to plant the seeds to those today and get those going. But Chicken Wire City here. This is my corn patch that I showed you the other day that I definitely had to wrap with chicken wire because they were playing in it. But good news, my corn's coming up. I have good germination on every row. I planted 2 seeds in some of the holes, and both seeds are coming up. So I've had good germination from this Lancaster Sure Crop corn. It's little, but it's coming up. It's doing good. This bed by the driveway was the playground bed for my squirrels. No matter what I put here, they were decimating. I put chicken wire around it. I got that finished, and I planted some winter squash in there, and they have not bothered it. I guess they couldn't get to it, so that's fine with me. I don't guess they figured out a way to get in here, and they've left it alone. I planted 6 plants, and every day I walk out and I count, and I still have 6 plants. I planted Tetsu Kabuto. That's a hard way to say it, but it's a winter squash. It's a Tetsu Kabuto. I purchased this seed from Johnny Seeds, and I liked it because it said it's long storing and because it produces a lot of fruit even under stressful conditions. And sometimes we get that down here in South Louisiana, so I thought I'd give it a try. What I did was I planted that, and then a Burgess Buttercup, and then a Tetsu Kabuto and a Burgess Buttercup, and so on to the end. You have to plant a buttercup squash with those Tetsu Kabutos. I don't know why, it's a pollination issue, but it won't pollinate without a butternut squash by it. So I'm hoping that by planting 3 of those and 3 buttercups all here in this little garden, that they'll produce, and I'll get some winter squash out of them. This row back here is going to be peppers whenever my pepper plants are ready to put out. They're still a little immature, and it's still a little too cool for them. A couple of days ago, this was my project. And you can't tell it, it's hard to tell it just by looking, but this bed is shaped kind of like a Y. It starts here, it goes in, it comes back out, and then along the back side I have another bed. So it's kind of shaped like a Y. And I already had some mesh wire here for kukuza and pole beans or whatever to climb on, and I had some string. But a couple of days ago, I wrapped the backside with this green mesh stuff that you can buy at Home Depot or whatever. I forget what it's called, but it's just screening you can put around your plants. I wrapped it all around this backside, and then I wrapped it around this side. It comes in 25-foot rolls, or that's what they were selling at Home Depot, so that's what I bought. And it actually fit perfect. I didn't have to trim it or anything, and it barely made it to this pole. So 25 feet I wrapped there and then came back this way. And then for the front, on that side I had the wire mesh panel, so that was okay. But on this side I did go ahead and put some chicken wire along the bottom, because all I had between one post and the other was just string, and I knew a squirrel could just run up under that string, no big deal. So I've got Fort Knox kind of here. But what I did was I planted some Martha Washington tomatoes there. I planted some Homestead tomatoes there. On these first 2 things is nothing but tomatoes. And I can still get to the tomatoes easy. This chicken wire is only 2 foot tall. I also just clip the ends with some little wire pieces so that I can take this netting off and walk in there when I need to. Back here to the back, on this little side of the fence, I put Guatemalan blue banana winter squash. And on that side over there is Thelma Sanders winter squash. The Thelma Sanders I'm not worried about because it'll take up that whole area once it leaves out, but Thelma Sanders doesn't get huge. I think it'll grow fine in that area. I'm more worried about the Guatemalan blue banana. It probably needs a lot more room than this. But for right now, just to give it a chance to even grow, I have to put it behind something because they will dig these plants up in 2 seconds. So I have to put it behind something. Is this ideal? No, not really. This is 40 inches tall, I believe, this green stuff. I'm tall, so it's not hard for me to reach over and check for hornworms on these tomatoes. It's not hard for me to reach over and harvest. But is it ideal? No, I would just love to be able to walk up to all these plants and pull a weed real easy and do things. But this is what I'm having to do because I'm just not going to not garden. I'm not going to give up and let these squirrels beat me. I'm also working on securing my little azalea branch area over here. The azalea branch row is going to have pole beans on it. I'm not too worried about that, and it'll create a little wall. I actually did plant them a couple of days ago, so they're okay. But I took some more of this green mesh stuff. It's 40 inches tall, like I said, and I wrapped it around the back side, so that'll kind of protect that little garden there that's going to be on that azalea branch row. It comes along here and just keeps animals out, because I'll have stuff planted here, I'll have stuff planted there. And what I did was I kind of just made it go out there. This isn't going to be secure like Fort Knox. I'm just trying to create a barrier for them. They could actually come around this barrier and get into the front side of all of this. But sometimes with the squirrels, what I've noticed is they like easy access because they're scared and they want to get back to their trees pretty quick. If they can't get through from the back side, they might not even come around this side. We'll see. What I'm going to have here is a couple of pumpkin plants, and I'm going to put them there so that their little tendrils and everything can grow out into here. I don't want to have to mow this, and I don't want to have to weed eat this. This is my pollinator row that my neighbor disked up for me the other day. So all my oats are gone and all. He disked it up, and I planted this solidly with wildflower seeds. And so I'm going to have wildflowers here for pollinators. I want my pumpkin plants and all to grow out this way so that I don't have to worry about mowing or weed eating up in here. And along there behind the daffodils, I'm going to have planted cushaw plants, and they'll branch out as well, and they can come out into here too if they want. So that's why I chose to plant those there. The squirrels last year didn't bother any of those plants. They probably would this year, but I feel like if I can kind of create barriers, maybe they won't get in here. To that end, I'm going to put chicken wire from this post. I'm coming out to here. So that'll kind of create a little bit more barrier to help this, even though it's not right up on it. And then once I put it from that post to that post, I'm going to run it all along the front of this bed to that post. Looking back here, this is the post I was just telling you I was going to run it to. I'm going to run it from that post to this post, and from this post all along the back of this bed to the green post there, and then there. Technically, a squirrel could come in here and go that way and go up in that bed, but I'm going to try to block it off to where it can't. And what I'm just kind of creating is a little alleyway in here, because I still have to be able to kind of get in here and access things. I don't want to completely block myself off from being able to. But what I'm saying is the more chicken wire I put up and the more obstacles I put in the squirrels' way, I think will deter them, because they really are chicken when it comes down to it. They do a lot of their damage when nobody's around. The minute you walk out your door, they run to the tree. I think they're always on the lookout for hawks and things like that. And if they don't want to get pinned up into a little pen, like a little chicken run, they don't want to get pinned up in a little chicken run type situation. So hopefully they won't go in there to begin with. Or if they do, they'll get scared and run right back out. That's my goal. I'm basically going to have this big, extravagant little maze up in here. That's just what I'm going to call it, a maze, and hopefully deter them from trying to get in here and get after my plants. Oh my goodness, this is just, it's causing me a whole lot of brain power, and it's causing me money, but I'm going to get it done, and I'm just going to leave a lot of this structure up so that I can roll right into fall planting and have some protection for my plants. I mentioned to you that the gun situation didn't go too good this morning. Now, I just have a cheap BB gun. It just kind of makes a little noise like thump, a little thump. It doesn't shoot, it doesn't make a loud noise or anything. I walked out my door this morning, and there were a couple of squirrels kind of going towards that Y-shaped bed. They were poking around the edges of it. They're looking for an entrance point if they can find one. I'm hoping I have it pretty much secure, but they're looking. So I thought to myself, I'm going to get my BB gun and I'm just going to pop some BBs. I don't even know if I could hit them, but I was going to pop some BBs at them just to kind of scare them and get them away from that bed. I feel like Granny Clampett. That's what I feel like. I feel like, you know, running out the door. Jed, you know, I got squirrels after my maters. You know, that's what I feel like. So I go grab the BB gun. I come outside and I'll pop the BB off towards the squirrels. Well, what I didn't realize was going to happen was I was going to scare the horse to death. Now, the gun doesn't hardly make a noise. I don't even really know why she was so scared. I'm wondering if she's got trauma or something. Because the horse, when I did that, she panicked and she started running kind of in circles and looking back at the house at me, and then kind of headed towards her other house, which is on the other side of the woods. And then she kind of came back and she looked, and I thought, did I hit her? You know, I knew she wasn't in my line of sight, or she was way to the right of where I was shooting. But I thought, did somehow the BB hit her? I wasn't sure. So I said, I'm going to shoot it again and just see what she does. So I shot it where I knew it wasn't going to hit her, and she did it again. The poor thing, I just scared her to death when I did that. And actually, she's gone. She's not even in the field anymore. She went back over to the house. This little gun that barely made any noise terrified her. So what I thought was going to be something simple I could do was just walk out my door and pop at a squirrel if I needed to pop at a squirrel, is obviously not going to be that easy for me, because obviously the horse has some type of trauma to this BB gun situation or whatever. She knew what that noise was. Nothing hit her, and yet she was scared to death. So I'm going to have to kind of be careful about it, I guess. And I probably can't hit a squirrel anyway. They're just everywhere. They run up down trees. It's hard to hit them and stuff. And that little BB gun is not powerful, and it's not going to kill them anyway. But I was just going to try to make them maybe too scared to go in some of my beds. That was my goal. But I think I'm just going to lay off of that. Don't want to scare the horse to death unless I can shoot when she's not around. And anyway, I laugh because this has become my life. This has become my life. I swear I feel like Granny Clampett walking outside with my BB gun, and she would walk outside with her big shotgun to go after stuff. I feel like Granny Clampett. And my yard, rather than being just beautiful little vignettes of flowers and plants, my yard has become this little prison yard for vegetables. But I'm gonna do what I gotta do. I'm gonna do what I've gotta do. That's my life right now. That's my life, and I'm gonna do what I gotta do. Give me your stories if you want. A couple of y'all responded back to my other video and said y'all hate those darn squirrels. Well, I tell you what, they're cute as they can be, but I don't like them either. They are destructive. They don't ever get full. Have you ever seen a squirrel that wasn't hungry? No, they're never full. They're always digging. They are out to get my tomatoes and stuff. They are costing me money, and they're just basically rats that look cute. Rats don't look cute, but squirrels look cute, but they're basically the same thing. I want them gone. I want them to not mess with my stuff, and whatever it's going to take, that's just what I'm having to do. It looks like I have a T-post cemetery out here with T-posts sticking up everywhere. I bet I've got 80 T-posts if you count everything in my yard. I bet I've got 80. I know I probably do. Between that and the white post, I probably have more than that. So that's become my life. This is Lainey at Hilltop Home Place. I just, why not just laugh about it? What you gonna do? What you gonna do? Just have fun and laugh about it. I'm not gonna wake up and cry every day because a plant's gone. I'm just gonna get mad and take action. That's what I'm gonna do. That's my story this morning. I hope y'all are having a great day, and I hope you're having a great spring and you survived all the weather yesterday. Y'all have a wonderful, wonderful rest of the day and the week. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.